Hello, my name is Carina, and in this podcast, Break Fear, Find Freedom, I have conversations with people just like you who have broken their fear and found their freedom, whatever that may be. And shows you how to do the same. So sit back, relax, grab your coffee or your running shoes, whatever makes you happy, and let the fun begin. Oh, by the way, come take my hand and let's go. The door's opening now.
Today's Friday again, and we've got the awesome Dino Miliotis with us again.
Hello.
Hello, Dino. It's so cool to be speaking to you again today. And what happened this week, and what can we talk about today that's really, really exciting in your life?
Well, the most exciting thing, breaking out of my comfort zone, like I told you, that I love doing.
Yes.
I am broadcasting remote from North Carolina. Which
that's exciting.
Yeah, I arrived here yesterday, last night, and I thought I'd freak out on the plane, to be honest with you. I'm just like, oh my God. But, it was a very, very long flight from Idaho. It had, multiple stops, but I did okay. Karina, I'm back. This is a work in progress, but I will tell you that, the old adage, breaking out of your comfort zone, really, really does work, because everybody that I've talked to, counselors and doctors and, the checkups and everything, they're like, you know what? I don't normally agree with my patient, but from what you're telling me, it's absolutely true that, you've been busy, 40 years nonstop.
Yes.
I have such, social network. I have associates. I have all kinds of stuff. My brain's always bubbling. And then writing a book was good. It was therapy for me.
Yes.
But it's a different world on how you market it. Everything's virtual, everything's impersonal, everything's kind of still, you're isolated. And I didn't even realize how much that isolation just kind of works on you and just eats away at you, where a full day starts getting more and more narrow. And you do less and less, like you first you go out for dinner, then you pick up food on carry out, then you have the food delivered. It's kind of like that, where you're almost like a hermit. You don't want to leave your house.
Yes.
So they thought that this trip would be great. It would be exciting. It's a small little town, small little community. I'm also going to see my mom, which I haven't seen since my dad's passing.
Oh, wow. That's
my brother.
Exciting.
I'm staying at my cousin's house, my first cousin's house. There's business opportunities here. There's a great connection here. And I already feel like this is exactly what I needed. So for all those that, doubt themselves sometimes, or they feel isolated and they start getting depressed, push yourself out of your comfort zone. Maybe you're not going to fly across country, right? But make it a point to go out and meet somebody or do something every day. Even if you hate it, you'll find out that that's what you're missing. At least for me, it just worked out really great. Still, the anxiety medication, but not a lot. Yesterday, I didn't take any because they're all as needed.
Yes,
and I was like, do I really need this? No. And I was totally fine. So this is a new page, new day. And I'm eager to scout out the territory and start looking at the dynamic, the businesses, the community, the types of trades, all the things that I love to analyze, because like I said, I ultimately almost always see a void. And then I pounce on what's needed in the market, what's missing in the market.
I love that. So this is exciting. This is an exciting time to be having these conversations, because now we can track it and we can watch you at work, that's exciting as well. And we can learn along the way. So I'm loving this. And it's a perfect time of the year. I mean, of course, it's Christmas is coming up and all that, but this is the time when we start thinking about what are we going to do next year? How are we going to grow? How are we going to come out of our comfort zones? And, just start preparing. So this is perfectly timed. So well done. It's really cool.
Thank you. It's almost, I mean, it's a perfect time because you hear about everybody with the New Year's resolutions, right?
Yes.
And they normally wait till January 1st to do that resolution. But, again, I mean, it's December. New Year's is, a month away. You should start thinking about, even in the smallest sense. I mean, you don't have to always do everything grand and grandiose, okay?
Yes.
But mild hurdles of success are very, very extremely gratifying. Crossing off a list of daily things that you have to do is gratifying. Just crossing it off is gratifying.
Yes, it's true.
And then you get, a guy like me, again, I started with crossing off lists. I started with, making that to-do list and carrying over the things I didn't. I mean, I've done all that. But I'm a little bit more seasoned than the average people because not that I'm better. It's just that I've been at it so long, 40 years of doing adrenaline type of things, with business. I mean, the adrenaline is incredible. I miss it. I want to get back in the game. Where you think you're going to retire. I don't care if I ever retire. A mind is a terrible thing to waste. And I think that I've isolated myself so much. I just figured I was afraid, do I really want to start over? Do I really want to do this? I'm not getting any younger. This should have been when I was 30 or whatever. There's never a good time. You could do this when you're 60 or 70 years old. It's not always about money, but usually if you're really, really, really passionate about something, you will make money. But even if you don't, it's a very rewarding thing to be able to feel needed and wanted and loved and get that feedback in return. All those are very, very important things. Now, the old Dino wouldn't be saying this, but the new sensitive Dino who's looking within, maybe it's time and quite appropriate. I mean, one of the doctors told me, he said, you have an uncanny knowledge of self. He says, what you need, what you're missing. And I guess he's like, maybe you don't believe what your body's telling you anymore, and you want to hear it from somebody else. So he goes, I'll be the first one to tell you, whatever your body's telling you need, you're right on track. You're absolutely right. Like nobody told me, no, well, it's too soon. You better not get on a plane because, you got anxiety. They're all just like, this is exactly what you want to do. So facing your fears, again, great plug for the name of your show. But that's really what it's all about. Facing your fears, understanding, you don't have to be a scientist on it, but understanding what causes these fears and then minimizing it in a way where you just think, okay, I'm afraid of this. What's the worst case scenario? Doesn't work out. So what? What's the best case scenario? It works out and I'm very successful, but you got to always keep trying. And so I'm in a good place and I'm really excited. Let's talk business, man.
I'm loving that. So maybe this is a good time just to go back a bit where we mentioned when we first met. I mean, we've had quite a few of these interviews and it's been really cool. And we've seen you going up and down and we've experienced and you've shared so much and you've been so vulnerable. And I know our audience have learned so much about addiction and all those things. And we'll go back into that at some point. But what I'm saying is that we started this show with your challenge. And if you want to remind our audience what the challenge was, and are you still up for that?
I am up for it. And, at first I was just singling out kind of like the forgotten, downtrodden people who are called former addicts or recovering alcoholics, because I think they get a bad rap. I think
Yes,
that there's a
yes,
stigma out there in the world where they do expect you to fail. I mean, look at me. I was tempted just a few weeks ago, not because I wanted the alcohol, but because my brain was telling me, hey, this for almost 40 years, when you drink, what you're feeling goes away.
yes,
I mean, your
yes,
brain is
yes,
really, really smart, and it
yes.
really, really gets programmed. Um, I can't understand it, but if I could bottle it, I'd make $1 billion. But
Or more.
yeah, or more. But I think everybody goes through those what I call temptations or low points in their life, and
Mm.
it's just understanding that it's not the drug or the alcohol that you're looking for. It's just that your brain doesn't really understand how to cope with these things any other way. So it reverts always to the default setting, which is, let me go back to drugs and alcohol, right?
Mm, mm.
That said, I think that there is, especially now, during this COVID and these new strains of COVID and all that. I mean, it's really depressing, right? I don't know when this is all going to be over, but wearing a mask yesterday on the plane for 12 freaking hours, uh, but you could take it off when you eat or drink, but you could put it back on. So magically, the virus stops circulating when you're eating. And then
I know,
as soon,
right?
and then as soon as you're done, you put the mask on, and then you're fine. A
There's so
cloth
many
mask.
magic things in this.
Yeah, a cloth mask that it doesn't hold a virus. It doesn't even hold dust. I mean, you could cough up dust; it'll go through your mask. So I don't understand the logic. Hey, more power to you or whatever, but it really is annoying. Anyway, that said, I am looking to uh, be honest with you, hone my craft again. I still
Yes,
got it, and I'm
yes,
like
yes.
bubbling to show it, to prove to myself it's rewarding. You can call it to show off to other people, but you know what? These are shallow, superficial things, but they work for me, and they have
Mm,
worked for so many years. Why
yeah,
fight a good thing, man? I mean,
exactly.
but most of my life has been proving people wrong, or driven by some type of rage to just smash the competition. And not that I was a cruel guy or anything like that, but I mean, these are things that drive me.
Yeah.
Other people get driven by other things, but I
Mm,
know myself. So what I want to do is, getting older, there's a lot of things that, I just don't have the energy to do physically anymore. I mean, I got some ailments, some shoulder injuries and a hip injury and stuff. I can't spring and dance like I used to, but my brain is still fertile and percolating. And what I want to do is I want to be able to mentor people that, lack of a better word, remind me of me, that need a chance. I had a chance. I had many chances in my younger days, because the people that embraced me and took me under their wing were much older people,
mm, mm.
with dreams. Some of them successful, some of them about to be successful, but always very encouraging and non-judgmental, and just kind of like, watch what I do. You may
Yes,
not like
yes.
everything I do, but watch what I do. There's
Mm,
always a
mm.
pattern, almost always with every one of them. There's a pattern. They all do and say the same things, which is really
Yes.
kind of amazing.
Which
So
is
I want
just
to,
for 1 minute before, just hold that thought. We just need to remind the people that you can get Dino's book. There is no
there is no
box on
box,
Amazon,
available
and there
on
will
Amazon.
be a link in the show notes. Okay.
Yeah.
Just
Thanks for the thanks for the plug.
you may continue.
No, thank you. So what I want to do is, I kind of like, when we first met, opened up a challenge, and I didn't
Yes.
really think about it, didn't know how, or whatever, but
Mm-hmm.
I still want to do it, where it's, I basically know that I could take somebody, mentor them for 18 months and make them a millionaire.
Okay.
And I still want to do that. And it may be something that is ongoing, with more than just one person, but it starts with one. One thing that I was waiting for is the notoriety. I mean, the more I'm well known, the more I'm received, the more people understand. They obviously, I'm not pushing my book, but if you're going to read a book and know about me, a little bit about me, read my book, because it talks about the things that I was never afraid of, and situations that I was plugged into, just kind of plunked right down. And some of the businesses I hated, but I mastered them, I learned them, and then from that kind of spun my own little twist, my own little take, and then I went alone. And these businesses, ironically, even in the book, a lot of them that I consider disastrous are by all accounts successful, in varying degrees. Not everything I did made $1 million, but it made money. It made money. And not only that, but I would gather a following. I would gather this almost like a cult following. I hate saying that, but they just gravitated towards me, and that was really fun. So I forgot the thrill of the hunt, again, because you go to rehab and you write a book, and then you market the book, and then you're isolated. You kind of forget who you are. And somebody said, you know what, you know who you are? You're like the greatest sales assassin ever. And I'm like, well, assassin, I didn't know that was a word, but I was a closer. And I was a very, very good dreamer who understood the market. I think I could do that for other people. And so I want to be able to provide hope by doing it that way. I want to document the process. So in other words, when I start mentoring somebody, just the way I talked about my little anxiety issue, I want to be open and candid and talk about the good stuff happening, even the challenges, right? And then I want to take it from the beginning all the way to the end where the business is successful, and promote the business. Because what I'm doing is I'm creating mini me's in essence. That's very rewarding for me, but I'm also helping people become self-reliant and self-employed, and obviously being able to hire and bring in other people. It just, it helps the economy. It helps the economy. Yeah, I mean, you want to help the economy, be a better tipper. That's what I tell people. I mean, even that has a ripple effect. So I want to do these challenges. So one of the reasons that I'm out here, obviously I want to visit family, but I'm looking to move out here. I love the sense of small towns, because it's not hyped up with all this bureaucracy and everything. You have direct contact with media, the newspapers, the television. You have the first responders, you have the law enforcement, sheriffs. You can make direct contact. All the local businesses will be glad, more than glad, to talk to you, and you can start networking. And my cousin's wife is actually thinking about writing a book, because she was mine, and she's like, hey, I'd like some pointers on it. So all of a sudden, from somebody that felt like I had nothing to offer, all of a sudden it just starts, it's starting over again, where I can actually feel that this is a really good thing for me, and a lot of things blossom from this. I have a meeting tomorrow with this foundation, the foundation that I think I was telling you about, that wants to focus on recovery and job training and therapy and counseling and all that stuff.
I love that. Very beautiful initiative.
It is. And I want to talk to them about partnering up in helping in many capacities, but one of the ways I want to help is fundraisers. You know, I'm on the coast. There's water, there's boats, there's yachts that you can rent, and you can have these fundraising casino nights, and you can, you know, have people on the water, and you know, all the money goes to a good cause, and things
Beautiful.
like that. There's a lot of things that you can do, but like always, I've always been in control of every aspect of what I do. Very lately, it's been relying on other people for your success. And I'm not real good at that. I'm not the most patient guy in the world.
Yeah.
And I know that I can, you know, speak the English language perfectly. And I think I can communicate and strike a chord with whoever I talk to. So for me, it's easy. I don't need a third person to do that for me. You know what I mean? So getting a little more involved in things myself engages me in this new world that I keep complaining about. But also it gets me in front of real people. That is something that is crucial for me to feel fulfilled. It may not be like that for other people, but for me, being out there interacting, it's life. It's charging my batteries, and I could see it already. I mean, I just arrived last night, and already, I'm feeling great. So
I love that. But now I just have to ask you this question as I'm thinking as you talking about this, and a change of environment makes a huge difference. We've proved it. And people can think about that if they're in a bad situation right now, if they have the opportunity. But what I'm asking you is that you've been clean for over 500 days, right? You've written a book. You were isolated. You've come to this new environment, and you're changing everything. What happens when those urges come up again? Because you're almost putting yourself back into the same situation that you were before you went into rehab.
Urges, you mean like?
Well, yes, what happens when you get into a situation where you need to drink or you need to take drugs? Are you strong enough to cope with that? I think you are, but
I think I am, and it's only because I understand now that it's the feeling that I had about drinking was not real. It wasn't me wanting alcohol. It was me needing something to help me cope because I didn't understand how to cope any other way. And it wasn't a conscious thing. It's a subconscious thing where my brain is telling me, hey, remember that, you know, for 40 years, when you drink, this feeling that you have, this fear goes away. Because I was never afraid, you know, ever. And so it was just kind of different. Now I'm starting to understand where that comes from. So, you know, if I feel overwhelmed, I mean, I'm not pushing the drugs, but sometimes the medication does help. But eventually you learn, and everybody has told me that I don't think you're going to need medication forever. You're not that type of person. You have to understand who you are, and you have to do some soul searching. And sometimes it doesn't just come from listening to a doctor. Sometimes it comes, well, the best physician is you, you know, when you know what you're missing or what you need. And so one of the things that is very, very important is establishing boundaries. You know, if somebody wants to drink and celebrate over dinner, that's fine. If it bothers me, I have to take it upon myself to say, hey, you know what? This is bothering me. I'm either going to leave or just stop drinking. And I don't care what they're going to think. It's just that you have to protect yourself first. You know, you come first.
Yes.
Because it's just all it takes is one, you know, right? And you don't want to go there. You know, the other thing is just to avoid the pitfalls of just kind of rehashing the past. I know last week we were talking about stuff and that bothered me with, you know, my brother-in-law and all that stuff.
Yes.
And you know, you made a good point. It's just like, look at it as a blessing. Look at it as a blessing that you guys didn't have the guns and that you didn't want to kill each other. I mean, something bad could have happened. And it is a blessing. I mean, it's only guns, it's only money. And I don't say that lightly, but really it's a thing. It's not a
Yes.
life.
Yes.
And so I refuse to be stuck in the past.
Nice.
And so I have to put my engine in first gear and just drive away and look at all that stuff in the back rear view mirror. And there's always going to be somebody that's going to say, coulda, woulda, shoulda, you should have done this, you should. Yeah, but I didn't.
Exactly.
Okay,
Exactly.
it's over. It's over. You know,
Yes.
I didn't.
Yes.
But it's a fresh start. That's the important thing, because with all new starts, a completely different environment. I'm not looking to get back into the same career. I don't even know what I'm looking to get back into. And that actually makes it exciting.
Yes.
You know, when you
Yes.
have that. Now, a lot of people can't get up and just pack up and go to another city, but the principles are still the same. I mean, if you get rid of the cancerous people in your life, let's say, and the ones that remain, you have very firm but healthy boundaries, because you have to put yourself first.
Yes.
And
Yes.
sometimes you've got to get thick skin, because, you know, you always want to be the popular person, but in some cases it's better to be unpopular and alive than not, right?
Yes.
But you know, that's refreshing too. Or, you know, make it a point to just drive around. If you're lonely, just drive around and just like strike up a conversation with somebody that you see at a restaurant, or you see at a store, or, you know, whatever. I mean, they may think you're weird, but you may find that you're going to have a pretty great conversation with somebody. Those are all things that can help as well, because again, when you're isolated, you almost start becoming a hermit. You don't want the lights.
Yes.
You have the shades drawn. You really don't want to go out of your house. When you go out of your house, you think people are looking at you and they think you're weird. I mean, that's kind of a sickness. I mean,
Yes. Yes.
that's really a bad thing, and it could creep up on you really quickly.
Yes. When you go out and you're actually afraid, you're afraid to meet people, you're afraid to even say hello to someone. And
Right.
yes, if someone just ignores you, then you think you're terrible. It's quite a scary place to be.
Yeah.
So yes, so if you're feeling like that, maybe just take a walk if you can. That also helps a lot. And you know,
And a shower, which I heard somebody say that on the air when I was on the radio show. It's like, you know, when you feel a little depressed or anxious, you know, remember, always take a shower. I'm just like, wow, how shallow is that?
Wow.
But you know, sure enough, when you take that shower, there's just something that happens. It kind of resets your mind.
Yes.
And you feel fresh, you feel different, and fresh air is actually really important. I don't care if it's really, really cold outside or whatever. It's not going to kill you to walk outside and just like breathe in some fresh air.
Yes. And make up your bed.
Yes. Yeah. That they told me that earlier. I
know. It's like, wow. It's something that I've always done all my life. And then when people say, you know what, when I saw that and say, make up your bed, I thought, wow, that's something that you do automatically. So it's quite interesting to see how not everyone is like you. And you need to understand that as well. And it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. Well, if we were all the same, it'd be a
boring, right?
But it'd be a one size fits all kind of cure. It's like, there's just little things that compound in everybody's life. And a lot of people who are lucky enough to kind of cleanse themselves by just letting it go are the good ones. It's the ones that complain out loud, the ones that tell you how they feel all the time. Every group has one where they just complain about things constantly. They're actually the ones that'll wind up being the healthiest. It's the one. It's
because they drive everyone else crazy, right?
Well, because they're letting it out. They're letting it out.
Right. I'm kidding.
It's the ones that hold it in and don't say anything and everything's fine. They're the ones you gotta be concerned with, because they're holding everything in. There's no outlet.
But you'll see that those people also get sick.
Yeah, they do.
So journaling is, do you journal?
Do I?
Do you journal? Do you write? Do you write
I
your
wrote
thoughts?
I wrote a book. That's
I know
enough.
you
But
write a book. Oh, that's enough.
but
Okay.
but again, I do have sort of a photographic memory, selective photographic memory, and so I recall things. I still to this day daydream.
Well, that's very
You know,
good. Yeah.
and you know, look at the infinite outcomes and possibilities of my life to the point where it's almost scary, where I know the outcome of something that's going to happen before I even have that meeting.
Yes.
I don't know if that's confidence. I don't know if that's premonition. I don't know if that's kind of a weird psychic thing. I don't know. But I do know that I, I visualize the outcome, and then it's just so easy. I know exactly what to do and say. And it doesn't work 100% of the time, but it works most times. And it's just almost like matter of fact kind of a thing. Because at the end of the day, we're all people, and it's how you talk to people, I think, that matters. You could try and dazzle them with your background and fancy words and, dodging direct questions and stuff like that. Or you could just be really honest and say, hey, you know what? Here's what I want to see. Here's what I need. Here's what I'd like to get.
Yes.
Speak their level. They're either going to say yes or no. And most times they say yes.
Yes. Yes. I think it's also just actually going out and asking. If you don't ask, you don't get, right? So
Right.
the worst that can happen is someone doesn't reply to your email or says no, and then, oh well, it's not like you're going to die. You just move on.
No.
And I think we really afraid to put ourselves out there in case someone says no. But you know what? You learn from it. I
You
think
do learn
you
from it.
learn, you see what they do, you see what happened, why you did it wrong, why they said no, and try it differently next time. So it's actually
Well,
quite exciting.
it is. And one of the things that you mentioned, it's like they don't reply to your email. Still to this day, if I want something done, it's not necessarily going to be to an email. It's going to be a phone call that's followed up by a face-to-face. That's when even in this COVID thing, you could still wear a mask. If you could wear a mask and fly in a damn plane,
Yeah.
you could wear a mask in front of somebody. I mean, come on. I mean, we've taken this way, way, way too far. But there's nothing that's going to replace personal interaction. That
Yes.
personal, like, I want to see their mannerisms. I want to see how they, even for an hour, you'll be
Yes.
able to find out so much more about the person by meeting them face to face. And so an
Definitely.
email is not going to do that for you. And it's, how many emails does everybody get a day? In my heyday, I get 200 personal emails a day. And I read like a sentence or two out of each of them and kind of get an idea of what it was all about. And then I'd respond with yes, no, forget about it, do it. I mean, I wasn't really big on words, but you have to be efficient with your time. But, meetings take a little longer, face-to-face ones, but they are by far the most effective way to conduct business, even today. I think always. It's just being able to get out of your comfort zone and understand that, yeah, Zoom may make you feel safe because, you're kind of in the comfort of your own surroundings and you're not really close to the person, but you're missing a lot of chemistry that you're going to find, like that tingling that I would always get where the hairs on my arms would stand up when I had a good idea or good synergy. That doesn't happen on Zoom.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but my body knows that, you need that chemistry, and then you start feeling more. It's very, very interesting. And so the people that I want to mentor them the way I was mentored, which is old school. Yeah, you could be very, very versed on, all the latest computer gadgets and apps and all that stuff. And that's fine. This is a new world. That's how you're going to get your message. social really is an important component of things that you do. But a
Yes.
lot of people, because they're so stuck on this new virtual impersonal world, don't really have a clue how to connect and interact with people when it comes to a one-on-one setting, or the old principles of success, the things about being a man of your word, a woman of your word,
Yeah.
and things like that. Those kind of have gone by the wayside, and I don't know why, but they need to come back. And so I want to mentor old school, the foundation of all foundations. And it's those little things, believe it or not, that will make you successful.
Yeah.
All the other stuff is just like icing on the cake, let's say. But if you don't have that foundation, that base, it's a much steeper slope to climb, you know?
Well, that's exciting. So how are you going to choose the people you're going to mentor? How are you going to choose them? Or how are people going to contact you? Or how are you going to do this?
People can contact me. They can contact you if that's okay. You know, I'd love to do that. I do have some people that have already come to me that want to be mentored, or they need some advice on a certain project, and you know, and that's fine, because it doesn't take much. But the first thing that maybe we can do, you know, if you like, is with your viewers, we could do something where, you know how they have these free consultations with lawyers. You know,
Yes.
the first call is free.
Yes.
You know, maybe we have that. Maybe we have that. Like, maybe a certain number of your listeners, of your viewers, can contact you, and I'll give them a free hour of consultation. They could tell me anything about their business, whatever, and I may suggest a few things for them, which are going to be, you know, things from my experience, things that I believe based on what they're telling me. And if they want to pursue it, that's a different story. But we could start with that, if you want.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah, because you know, again, lawyers have it where you could call somebody and you get a free consultation. I don't know any business consultant where you could do the same thing, where they'll actually sit down and let you pick their brain for an hour. But I think that's a start. And then the selection process will come, like I said, I mean, where people will actually want to write in, and they're going to want to express an idea or their interest in being helped and mentored and so forth. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose the ones that have heart, that have desire, that have fire, like we talked about, fire in the belly.
Yes.
And I think it's one of those things where I'm looking past the words and the resume, so to speak, and I'm looking for that feeling, you know, the way I had that feeling. You know, I was given a break by being so lucky to get involved with mentors, but they didn't choose me. I chose them. Believe it or not. I mean, they're just looking at this young, I don't know what they saw in me, young, energetic kid, whatever. And that's fine. That's a compliment. But in the end, it was me. I decided that I wanted to follow these people based on how I admired them. I wanted to emulate them. I loved their character, things like that. It was my choice. And so I think by us getting more visible, and establishing a track record with people, because you know what, I mean, look, a lot of people don't know who I am, you know, and they want to know, but you know, obviously there's always this, well, who is he? I mean, here's what I'm going to say. What do you have to lose? You know what I mean? You know, but it's not that difficult of an undertaking. It certainly is a rewarding process for me, but it will be a life-changing process for those who participate. And I want to document this with you. I want to be able to,
Yes.
not for like an embarrassing thing, but I really believe that if you're trying to help people, you want to have an open process where you share things, where you
Yes.
can talk to the person being mentored and ask them, hey, what's going on? You can ask me, and so everything's open. It's not always going to be rosy. It's not always going to be without challenges or even arguments, but that's business. That's business. Business is, if I followed my business practices in my personal life, I would have had a lot more money. Let's put it that. You know what I mean? But it's all the same. It's all the same. Same thing. I don't know why you think personal is a little different. Yeah, you have feelings and love and stuff like that in the personal, but don't you have feelings and love in business too? I mean,
You should,
for me,
I guess.
yeah, for me,
Yes,
it's the same kind of thing. It's creating an atmosphere where you're in control of your whole universe and everything in it, and not as a dictator, but you're on it. You're on it. But you notice when you come home, it's harder to pick up those feelings, like if something's wrong or something's bothering the other person or things like that. It's just, I ignore it. But go into a business setting, I'm like, okay, what's wrong? Talk to me. Yeah, you know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
I've started to adapt that innate ability to pick up on vibes with personal, and I guess that's why I'm able to kind of analyze myself so quickly, is because I know what I need. I know what I need. I'm a sales machine. I need to work.
Okay, well, I love that. So on that note, I think if and everybody that's listening, you want to take up this opportunity. So what are we saying? Dino, say we'll give 5 free sessions. Is that
Sure.
good? So
Yeah.
Dino will give 5 free sessions and I'll give 5 free sessions, and all the details will be on the show notes underneath. So just come on and let's do this. Let's change the world one person at a time. That's pretty cool.
It is
starting
cool.
with us, of course. That's where we're starting.
It is cool. But you know what? I mean, it would be such an honor to be able to talk to 5 people. They can act anonymous. I don't care. But I'll call them all. I'll listen to everything that they have to say, their fears, their hopes, their dreams, their desires, whatever it may be. And I promise that I will offer my best advice, given my background and the different types of ventures that I've undertaken. And we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes.
I love that.
I think it'll be cool.
Very cool. So thank you, Dino. That's a very good way to end the session. But before we do, tell me, how different is your life? Like the way you're really, really feeling. You've explained that to us, but has your way of seeing the future really changed that much from last week? Like,
yeah, it has. I mean, look, everything that I have ever done has been through, by my own design and carried through. And I've always networked with people. So for me, it was just such a quick start and a quick success kind of curve and all that. This, like I told you before, was kind of different. In all honesty, if you get out of rehab, the first thing you're concerned with is, I got to be good. I got to stay straight. I got to have a normal life. And so you have a tendency to kind of water down your aspirations in order to be good, whatever that means, which it means clean, right? Because you're afraid. Well, what if I relapse? There's nobody here. There's no summer camp like I was used to in rehab. There's no counselors that are going to keep, taking my my urine samples and my blood and my blood pressure and all that. So you're on your own. You're on your own. It would have been easier in a lot of cases if I left rehab and went to family. I'm not sure. It didn't happen. I went by myself, but I preoccupied myself with a book that I had no knowledge of writing. I didn't know how to market it, but I felt very strongly that I wanted to do it. The books had mild success. It's just that the pitfalls for me was remembering what a book tour, let's say, was 25 years ago. You know, hey, you're flying to New York, you're going to do the Sally Show. You're flying to Chicago, you're going to do Oprah. You know, your People magazine, they're coming to your door. Now nobody comes to your door. You know, it's all remote and stuff like that. And it was kind of boring. So in one case, I mastered something completely different. But in another case, the end result was, oh yeah, I made some book sales, which I'm very appreciative of. But it's not always about money. It's about feeling fulfilled and having purpose. And the fact that I wasn't able to meet people and interact with people the way I remembered, for me, was a huge disappointment. It doesn't mean it was in reality, but in my head, it was a huge disappointment. And so I was very confused on what do I do next? Because honestly, Carina, as much as the book helped me, I hated writing a book. I mean, I can't tell you any other way. Okay.
It's quite interesting.
but you know, so you start getting into this situation where you're like, do I write another book? You know, what's going to happen? Is the rest of my life going to be collecting royalties, but just sitting on a couch? That's not life. That's not life. So, you know, when people say they're an author, very few people are just full-time authors, I think. I mean, you got to keep writing books and you got to be like a James Patterson or a J.K. Rowling and stuff like that, which very, very few people get to be. So who is Dino? I forgot who I was. And who is Dino is somebody that if he's in his zone and if he's interacting with people, he will always, always see an opportunity and pounce on it. And I forgot about that. I forgot who I was, you know, and this pushing myself out of a comfort zone and constantly reinventing myself. I never go back to the same trade twice. Is a lot of fun. Is a lot of fun. So I have no doubt that I'm going to do something amazing. I'm glad I wrote the book. Obviously, you know, nobody can take that away from me. I am an author. It's going to be forever memorialized on the internet and Amazon and so forth. And that's great. But who is Dino after the book? Is he just a guy who wrote a book? No, there's life after the book. And I'm about to live it.
Good. I love that. So that's a perfect note to end it. So I think what you're saying is people go out and think about who you are and where you are at this moment and what do you want to do, right? What your passions, what keeps you alive, what keeps you awake at night, where do you go to just to lose yourself?
Think like a 7-year-old.
And then see from there. So that's exciting. So thank you so much. And thank you, Dino. Check out the all the details at the bottom of on the show notes. And remember to subscribe. And so that you can see us again next week. And we will see you again next week.
Yeah, and call in for the consultation. I love it.
Yes. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Take care.
Thank you for listening. And thank you for listening right to the end. Now, if you want to know more about breaking fear and if it's keeping you stuck, check out the quiz. The details are below. Subscribe so you can hear some more of this delicious conversations. And then watch out for my book, The Clank of Chains, which is coming out very soon. Thank you again for being here, and we will see you next time.